Hello, hello, beautiful people, mi gente bella. Welcome to another edition of Santana Says, where we talk about everything from Roblox to relationships, everything in between, and the overall journey of life. Not only am I excited to bring you another edition of the show, and also happy holidays to all of those who celebrate, holiday edition, but you all have been getting the opportunity to get to know me a little bit more, some of the things that I'm passionate about, but you have also been meeting some pivotal people in my life and that are part of my village. And so, if you recall, we first had Pierre Hurt on the show. She talked about her platform, Millennial Mommying, all the great things she does, but she's also one of the people that my daughter goes to when she's needing, to have her moments, when she needs some time away from us, but also when she wants somebody to be able to talk to and confide in. My oldest daughter, if y'all remember, she's the one that has the identity issues already. Artistic, I love it. She has all of these incredible talents, but she's my most complicated child. If I had to say, she's the one. But she also has a go-to person, and what's so crazy about it is not only is this a go-to person for her, but this was a go-to person for me. So to see it like now with my own child is just like amazing. And so that person is here, and I am so excited. So thank you so much for being here today. But Mrs. Sally Hopkins and all that, formerly known as
Iocona first name. That's crazy.
Which is funny though, because remember there was like that period of my life where I was afraid to say your first name forever. Yeah. I regarded her with so much. It was. You had to constantly remind me it's okay to say my first name, and I just would not. I just refused and didn't want to. And also formerly known as Miss Iocona, because for some that is a very soft spot for a lot of us. We had Miss I in school, so if you ever had Miss I, bam,
my babies, I love you.
This is her. But now she's known as Mrs. Hopkins for everyone else, and
a few other things.
Exactly. So, and that's what we want to get into. So with that being said, could you let the wonderful viewers, listeners, and everyone know a little bit more about you? Who are you? Just a little background.
I sure can, Melissa.
Thanks.
So, okay, where to begin? I will start with I'm a mom, first and foremost.
Yes.
I have 4 amazing kids, but I think all moms say that.
We do.
And my second most important role is teacher. And I count all of my students, my kids, fondly my case babies. Yes. I love my case babies. So I've been teaching art in Cleveland for 29 years. And it's changed drastically, but I still love it because I absolutely love my kids. Just love them to death. And married to Howard.
What?
Role as a wife. That's top 3 roles.
Yes.
Mom, wife, and teacher. And my friends call me the salamander.
Nice. I do love that.
And there you have it. And I'm also an artist.
Exactly. That one didn't even, yes, absolutely.
Goes with the territory.
Absolutely.
And what else?
Well, I think I want to definitely take it back to what you said, Case. So, yes. Right. So Case was also a big part of my life. I attended Case from 2nd through 5th grade. And so I also remember it very fondly. I love our, when we would get out in the auditorium, what was it? Those things on Mondays?
Harambe.
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Lloyd, y'all. If you had Mr.
Love
Lloyd
Mr.
as a principal.
Lloyd.
He was literally the best. But also, whenever you have those educators that are just genuine, like they just literally care, and their hugs are also the best. Mm-hmm. So like that was Mr. Lloyd. Always. And so we had Harambe. I know we would always come out, and we just always had that community in the school. That's what I love. Case was just
And for those who don't know, Harambe, Mr. Lloyd was very Afrocentric. He was very focused on the African culture.
Yep.
And so Harambe was like a morning meeting every Monday where the whole school would come out in the courtyard.
Oh, yeah.
And we would get there was a drummer.
Oh, yes.
That would be the way that we knew it was starting.
Yes.
And you had to get permission from the elder.
Yep.
To begin.
Go. Yes.
And you would go over your morning, the meeting for the day, for the week, and then everybody, the whole school would literally hold hands. Yes. And we would raise our arms and say Harambe.
Yes, we would.
I think it was 7 times.
Oh, definitely.
Right, Mr. Lloyd? I think so.
Right. We'll have to verify.
And that's funny because for me, Mr. Lloyd was a person for me.
Right.
Like I still think of him fondly. like a father figure.
Exactly. So see, to have that,
it's like
that's
a
the
cycle.
ideal relationship you want. Like I felt like with educators and the principal, like to have that kind of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw it. So I feel like that's also what was noticeable to the students. We also saw that camaraderie. And so it was just great to have. And we felt safe, at school. We definitely did. I felt safer at school than anywhere else. And I remember the Afrocentric creed. That was also the big thing.
Yes.
Believe in myself. I know myself.
Yes.
I
am the one who is talking.
Exactly. So we were instilling confidence early on. But if you recall, that was when I had the least amount of confidence. I was just a very quiet, do not speak unless spoken to child. And that's something I absolutely talked about on the show. But I also mentioned that you were one of the teachers that saw me. And so to be honest, I think a lot of the other teachers saw my academic success and they thought that I was doing okay. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, you saw through it. Like you definitely saw through a lot of that and you reached out and you asked not just the questions, but the right questions. Like you would get to know me more and all of that. Did you know any of that early on? Was it just part of what you were already doing? Or like, was that just already part of your educator,
Well, I think a big part of it is there's educators who are not moms who have that instinct, right? But absolutely. I think that once you're a mom, it's just something it's instinctual.
Right.
And for my spiritual, faithful people out there, I truly believe something brought me to you. Absolutely. Like brought us together in the stars, whatever.
Right.
But for me, it's just instinctual. Like I mother my kids. I consider all my kids my babies when I'm at school.
Absolutely.
And with you, I know you guys, it's hard to believe, but she was quiet.
I was. See?
Quiet. And just there was something that drew me to you, and to where I just wanted to just hold you, and I got you.
Right.
And from that, I think one of our first outings, and you were in, I think, the 3rd grade.
Oh, yes.
This girl was
taking
8,
it back. Exactly.
And we went to Tower City, I
yes,
think.
We did. Yes,
And
we did. When it had a movie theater, when it had one.
A picture with Santa.
Yes.
I think it was outside.
Yep.
And it was a weird dynamic, though, because as a teacher and you're taking a student, you got to make sure that you're good with the parents and that everybody's comfortable with that, because especially today. But, I wanted to make sure that your mom was comfortable, too.
Absolutely.
And that she could trust me, and it just all kind of worked out good. Like, you guys are literally my family.
Absolutely. And then this is definitely true. I definitely think that rapport was built early on.
It has to be. It has to be.
Exactly. And there was that comfortability from the very beginning, but agreed. But it's interesting that you go back to that one because, yes, I remember also being incredibly nervous. And I'm like, instead of just enjoying it, because that was much of my childhood. It was like, instead of just enjoying the moment, I was always in my head. Yes. I'm always thinking about it. I was always like, and how does she, what do we do now? And what's going to happen? And how does this go? And I just had never. And I mean, I know we've talked about it over the years, but it was definitely incredible to even get that chance. But to know that even though I had all those thoughts in my head, with you, I didn't have to entertain them. I really could just be myself, be with someone that actually cared about me and just actually finally be present. And then what was incredible was going to your house. And so like the first time I went to your house and saw, a life different than mine, it was an incredible sight to see. Like I definitely, from the beginning, you definitely became somebody that I wanted like to aspire to be like, for sure, just because I love the joy you had, for your work, and what you did, but also the incredible life you were building with your children. Like even when I saw the chore wheel, this was the first time I seen it. And I know you make jokes about it because you don't even use it, but to me it was fascinating. I'm like, oh, they write down their chores. There's organization here. So it was something completely different from what I saw in my household.
You love the reason my kids despised me.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, y'all, like, we should try this.
This is a legit thing.
Exactly. That is true, though. I definitely found joy in things that they probably were like, please, like, we don't even need to do this. But I definitely thought it was incredible. And even that, you have these incredible traditions that you do with your family. So I'm definitely curious, where all that came from. Like, was it always just instinctual with you? You know what I mean? Did you just make them up yourself? Did mom inspiration?
No, that's weird because growing up, my parents were divorced, so it was a divided household. I didn't even live with my older two brothers, probably since the second grade. So, and I don't remember much of my childhood. I really don't. So if for me, my goal was just always, I want my kids to feel like they're the most important people in the world, no matter what. And so that still is my goal.
Right.
You know, my kids come first. My kids come first, whether that's right or wrong.
Absolutely.
But that's been my platform in life. And so I don't know, these traditions I wanted it to be memorable. I wanted to make these traditions, and we just did them, and we still do them today. And sometimes it's a drag for them. They're like, oh my God, we got to do this Christmas card. But I think it's creating, like memories.
Absolutely.
And as much as they hate it, they love it.
Right. Just being able to.
And I love it.
Exactly.
And I know that as they grow into adults, time is limited. And
man, tell me about it.
So we do what we can now with the time we have.
Absolutely. And I love that. And that's what I saw too. So I definitely think that. And it was great the, times that you would bring me into those traditions and I could see them. And I definitely remember being, like I said, totally flabbergasted by a lot of it and shocked, but also just loving it. Just loving being able to see that and that you did that. But then I think but incredible that you said but you didn't necessarily always felt, seen and, validated as a child. And so whenever we have those gaps, it's incredible that as adults, you wanted to be able to fill that gap for others that you didn't have filled yourself as a child.
Right. And I think that's a drive for a lot of people. You want to give your kids what you didn't experience or have. Or even if you did, our perception is so different, but it's still true to us. That was my driving force. And I will say, it took you a while to get comfortable coming over. Because when you came over, you were just like, and it took a minute for you to, now you can come in, you're like, hey, what's up? But
what are we doing?
It took a long time.
Absolutely. It really did though. And I think it was that. And then what it really was too, which has been a big thing for me as an adult, and that's something that I'm glad we've been able to explore on the show, is that I always felt unworthy. So whatever space I was in, I always felt like I didn't deserve to be there. I think for the longest time, I really did struggle with the fact that, like not whether your intentions were pure or not, because I did feel that you were always genuine from the beginning. And that's why I always felt drawn to you. But did I deserve, though, the attention you were giving me? So it was definitely never whether or not, you meant it, but did I deserve it? And so I would do that often in those spaces is, do that and often, explore those feelings. And in the process, come across looking really like different and also like, so much, in my head instead of, in the moment. So I agree. It definitely... And like I said, to even utter your name, like literally to even be able to say Sally was a big deal for me. It was huge to be able to do that. And then it's like, that's the crazy part too. Like these kids carry burdens like that all the time. And that's something that I've also been able to see because now I'm also in the field of education, but also with social work and just, trying to provide these resources. I think it's incredible. They have these weights almost every single day and we have no idea. And we're expecting these kids to not only deal with all of that at home, but then come to school and be successful. Like, put all that aside and like, don't even worry about it. I am sure you have seen that in your work also, not just with me, but like with other students. And so like, how does that come across too, especially in the art space? Like,
well, I think you hit the nail on the head because a lot of our kids are dealing with so much that as adults, I couldn't get through a day without breaking down. And we have these kids who come in and they're either, struggling emotionally or mentally or physically. And we're expecting them like, all right, come on, let's, get this and do this and test this. And for me, they want a safe space.
Yep.
They want to be heard.
Yes.
And sometimes they just want just a space to just like wind down.
Absolutely.
And the arts, it could be visual arts, performing arts, musical arts. It just gives them a chance to just be their true self.
Absolutely.
And it takes away the pressure of academics and testing and scheduling and just it gives you just that chance to just and be you.
Right.
And it's okay to be you. And that's the beauty of art. There is
Right.
no right or wrong.
No.
But it's also interesting for me, and this goes to any parent, that your perception of my house was like this great space, right?
Yep.
And my kids have their own struggles.
Right.
And they have their own issues. So, you know, I'm sure like you were probably like, oh, this is great.
Yes.
But their experience is completely different.
Different. Yep.
And
I had no idea.
as a parent, you know, you don't understand that your kids are going to struggle no matter how great you may think you're making it for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something you're not going to know. And
Yep.
there's struggles, whether it's completely internal or external with school or life, or pressures that you may put on them that you don't even realize.
Oh, goodness
But
gracious.
all kids from all backgrounds are going through something. And I think as an educator, as a mom, just as a decent human being, know that everybody is going through something. Everybody.
Right.
So it doesn't cost a thing to be kind,
Right.
to listen to people. I mean, I think that's what we all need more of.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes too, we always work in that rush, like the pandemic actually gave us the time to slow down, but we're like 2 years removed from what it was at its peak. And so now we're back in the hustle and bustle. You know what I'm saying? We're moving around, we're constantly doing things. And I've seen a lot of educators who unfortunately they have, some of those pressures that they're facing at home. But I think sometimes we forget, too, that our students are also facing a lot of pressures. And sometimes I've seen a lot of educators with short fuses. And so sometimes, they're not realizing too that, when that happens and when that explosion occurs, I mean, it could have been that, I've learned from some students that in the morning they had to argue with their parents just to get to school. Like they had to go through a battle. They got into a fight with their sibling. They almost got touched by somebody on the bus. They almost got into a fight on the way in the door. They had to get stopped at security because then that's the other thing. Our students are constantly having to be clear. We could just walk up the steps. These students, on the other hand, are treated almost like criminals. Like they're literally having to come in, scan themselves, do all these things. Then they come in and are trying to focus. And unfortunately, they might get faced with someone who also had a bad day and then takes it out on them.
Right.
Or like doesn't take the time to just check in, And like you said, sometimes that is all they want. Yes, when I have opened my door at my school, once I opened it, it has not closed.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh, I can go somewhere and just talk. I can
space.
finally, just be myself. And I just ask, and most of the time, all I have to say is, how are you? And it's a wrap. Like they'll constantly tell me, what it is, how it went to last week, what they've been doing before. And then, once you work up to that, although a lot of them, you do need to earn it. Because now some of them are not giving from the beginning. They have to know that, where you're coming from, like those students are really good judges of character. They're going to know like who they can go to.
Who they can trust.
Oh, absolutely. And I've seen students behave differently in different spaces.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Exactly. So it's interesting to see that. And you'll see a lot of this if you're in those educational spaces. But also parents, you would be surprised to know that your child probably acts completely differently at school than they do at home. So sometimes I've had to tell parents, it's totally different.
Mm-hmm. And I will say this too. Teachers sometimes need a safe space.
Yep, absolutely.
Because teachers are struggling too.
No, definitely.
And especially post-COVID.
Oof.
And that's really changed the whole dynamic of teaching.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, teachers need to be as mindful as they can for what kids are dealing with. But at the same time,
oh yes,
teachers need to make sure they're in a good spot.
Oh yeah.
And they need to make sure, hey, before I step in that door, I need to make sure that I'm good so that I can be good for others. And that's a big component.
And that's actually something interesting that I'm glad you brought that up, because especially with you. So given the fact that you do that, you give so much to yourself, to the students, you immerse yourself a lot in that experience, and you do provide this creative outlet for them. How do you stay grounded in the midst of all of it?
That's a great question, Melissa. So I don't always. And I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I hear
There's times are we allowed to cuss on this? I will lose my shit. And
Good to know. Yes.
Oh
We're
my
allowed.
God, Mrs. Hopkins swears. And that's okay.
Absolutely.
We're human.
All day.
So yes, I give. I'm a giving person. It's almost to a fault.
Right. Right.
And so Mr. Hopkins, he is the receiving end of that. And
Yeah.
he's my go-to person. And sometimes it's great and sometimes it sucks to be him. But you need that person.
Always.
And sometimes it comes out like, I'll vent to you sometimes when we get together. Or my oldest, she's like, okay, you know. But I think that you have to release it somehow.
Yeah.
And for me, sometimes my art is a beautiful thing because that's where I can go and just close the door. But it's very, very important that in order to help others, you got to be right yourself. You have to be.
Absolutely.
And if you're not, it's okay. It's okay because
Right.
we're all not on point all the time.
No.
Just recognize it and recognize that you may have to take a step back and be like, you know what? I would love to talk to you, but maybe now's not the best time.
Right.
So maybe come back and see me at the end of the day or come back and see me tomorrow. I love you, but Mrs. Hopkins needs a minute.
Amen.
We'll get right back to it.
Right. Definitely. And I'm glad you clarified too, because like you said, educators in general, they definitely tend to be giving people. And we definitely got to shout out educators because clearly I'm still in contact with one. And so like they are amazing and they definitely, and so I'm glad we clarified too that yes, they need to be mindful and and there's a lot that they take in, but we also have to shout them out because it's a lot that they take on. And
Yes.
so, like to even do that job, I mean, we all know that educators aren't the richest individuals either. A lot of them actually have additional jobs that they have to do, unfortunately, because we live in a society where we've decided that teachers unfortunately shouldn't get paid top dollar, which I have always argued against that. There's many essays that I dedicated to the topic because I just feel like it's absurd to me that it's not.
Because teachers are literally creating the future.
I mean, exactly. But we're
Creating
like,
the future.
but we'll go ahead and give you a livable wage for that. Like, we're not gonna, but it's just incredible. But I do agree that educators do a lot and they have that ability to be able to influence in that way and literally providing knowledge and a foundation. And a lot of the things that students learn are outside of the classroom. It's not just what they learn, with that. Cause I mean, I can barely recall, what math problem was on the board, but I definitely recall how Miss Russell, was nice to me and like, that validation she gave me and just, the talks that we had outside of class and how I was going to look in my future. And absolutely you. I mean, like we've definitely, and we had to be intentional about it. So that's the other thing. Like it wasn't accidental either that we remained in each other's lives.
Right.
I definitely thought about that the other day.
Put effort.
We did.
And we were both, and there were times that we didn't talk for
Oh, yeah.
a minute,
We definitely
but
did.
it was always, we made it work and we found
Right.
a way.
Exactly.
And literally, you guys, Melissa is my child, like my other child.
Yeah.
I mean, she is the family. She is like a sibling to my kids.
Oh yeah.
But like any relationship, you got to
Right.
work at it.
We do.
You have to make it happen.
Yes.
And if it goes by the wayside a little bit,
right.
it's okay. You just bring it back.
Right. But that's the ones that are worth it. That's why I'm glad you said that. Like we got to be willing to put the work in for the ones that provide that great value for us, And so I feel like that's always what was great about us is that, and we would take turns at some point, with some time would pass, you'd reach out, then maybe I'd reach out, and we would always find a way. But I'm just so glad we did, because there was so much that we gained just by being in each other's lives. And then, as you said, now we're able to both bounce ideas off of one another. Hey, I have this kid, this stuff's going on. What do you think, is a good idea to do? And as I told you all, she now helps my daughter. I just cannot believe, y'all. Shout out to my oldest, and you mentioned your oldest as well. Always the oldest. They all have their interesting spots, like as they come into your lives, especially when you have the multiple children. I definitely think it's a unique experience that the oldest has compared to the youngest, the ones in between. Like it's just
So different.
it completely is. And these kids have the same parents. They might have the same upper, and it doesn't matter. Like they're gonna, even me, my sibling. I mean, we definitely are two totally different people for sure. But hands down, now you're able to now be there with my daughter. And I have loved that. I've I've loved being able to just say, you know, and I've told you, hey, like we said, we don't always have all the answers. Definitely, I brought that to you, and I have said, hey, she might need somebody to talk to because I don't have it all. But also, like, even if it by some miracle I actually knew how to communicate with her, she doesn't always want to speak to just me, you know. And I got to be able to relinquish some of that and know that sometimes they need to be able to talk to somebody else, our children, and that's okay, especially if it's somebody trusted. And so I'm definitely curious, you know, your take on that as well, and how it's been not only having, you know, Melissa 2.0, I guess, or like mini me, or like how that's been for you also.
So it's amazing to see that and to touch on how different children
Oh, yes.
are. You're not the same mom you were with your second child. So
That's true.
you were mom one with
Yep.
child one.
That is true.
But then you
Yes.
learn and you grow and you change, and
Yep.
you're not the same mom. So child two's experience are going to be different.
Yes.
You're not the same mom if you have other children.
Yep.
So they might be in the same house, same parent.
That's true.
Totally different experience.
Totally true.
But to see you have your own and just to see that, it's amazing. It's amazing and it's awesome. And you guys, she's a great mom. She is I am so beyond proud of this woman. I mean,
Same
I'm
here.
proud of you.
I
Can't
appreciate
even,
that.
it's just amazing. And your girls are all amazing.
I appreciate it.
And it's really cool. It's cool to see them. And nobody always wants to talk to their mom. Yeah, we love our moms, but
Right. No.
you don't always want to go to your mom.
No.
And I mean, think about when you were in school even, or your group of friends.
Oh,
You
yes.
have certain friends you go to for different things,
Oh, yeah.
right?
All day.
Certain people you go to for different things. So Ilana, she's also totally different than you.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Totally different.
In so many ways.
So many ways. She's very more aware and vocal,
Yes.
which is great.
Yep.
And it's what you tell me I do for her. She does for me as well, because I can learn from her,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, and realizing these things. And I don't have all the right answers with her. I don't know,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I just know that I'm a safe space that she can go to.
Exactly.
And
Explore.
we paint, we talk, it's just, you know, and I'm not by any means a professional counselor, but I listen.
Right.
I listen, and sometimes that's all you need.
Oh, absolutely. And I just think just a platform. Exactly.
Yes.
Just a platform, just a space.
And a safe one.
Yes, exactly.
Non-judging, safe
And
space.
and especially the non-judgmental part. Exactly.
Yes.
Especially with my child, because like you mentioned, yes, she is her own unique person and super vocal, yet ultra sensitive. She is
Yes.
ultra sensitive. Anything I say about certain things, I think I'm being like constructive, but she's like, wow, but I mean, you really kind of made me feel bad when you said that. And I'm like, wait, what? I was just trying to tell you. So I learned so much. And like you said, they definitely keep us grounded. My goodness. The most humbling experience being a parent. Because I'm like, you thought you knew things? No, absolutely not. Like they reveal things to you all the time. You're constantly challenged in so many ways. And like to have your identity completely on display in front of another human being who also is looking up to you and that you're having to raise all at the same time. It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot. You're literally like exposed, but then also having to pull all those pieces together because this person is still looking to you for guidance. So it's like, even when you don't have all the right answers. And I think it's been awesome that we're okay admitting that though. You
Yeah,
know?
you
And
have
so,
to be.
Exactly.
You have to be okay.
But I definitely didn't have parents who felt that way. You know, I think they thought that it would be like less of, you know, they would be less of parents if they admitted that they didn't always have the right answers. But I would notice the gap and be like, why are we not talking about this? Like, why are we not, you know, like being okay admitting that we're not okay and that we're imperfect and that we're figuring it out, because we all are. And I mean, we constantly in our lives want to be able to always do that and continue to progress as people, but we sometimes act like it's just so wrong to say that, you know.
Well, and I think society pins parents on they're supposed to have all the right answers.
Right.
That's your parents.
Exactly.
But you're human, so
Right.
you don't, and you can work through it together, and it's okay.
Absolutely.
And there's pressure of being a parent in itself to have the right answers,
Right. All right.
because
That
you
is true.
want to be able to provide for your kids, but sometimes you don't, and it's okay that you don't, and you can find the answers together or show your kids, I don't know, but let's figure it out together.
Absolutely.
Or how can we figure this out? And that's showing them there.
Yep.
You might not know, but you can figure it out.
Absolutely. And what I think is really interesting is that now you have the older children. So I'm dying to know, like, so what's it like now having children that are older? You know what I mean? One is about to get married soon. I was invited to the wedding, y'all. Hey, I was so excited. It was like a celebrity. It was like, yes, but I felt like A-list. Like, it was like, to me, I was going to a celebrity wedding. I was so pumped. Like, I cannot wait to see her son get married.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, like I'm like, just so excited to see them in these new stages of life. Like it's amazing. So I definitely think it's awesome. But like, I'm curious, have any of them come back and actually admitted, like, Mom, that was actually really cool, what you did. Now I can actually see that. Like, have you had those conversations yet? They still growing in it?
Yeah, no, we've had them. And let me tell you, the greatest thing in the world.
That's awesome.
So for all of my younger parents out there,
yes,
just hang in there. Hang in there.
Yeah,
even now when you can't even stand to be in the same room with your kids sometimes, which happens. They will come back. And they will see like, wow, Mom, I really appreciate you. Or I get it now. Or, and that's, being a parent could be the best to the worst. To the best. It's like a whole roller coaster.
Whirlwind.
They make you the happiest, but then they will break your heart. Yeah. And that's just, it's normal. It's part of the process.
Parenting.
But as they get older and they become aware and they start realizing your sacrifices.
Absolutely.
Which they will. They will realize the time and the energy that you put into things. It's the greatest feeling. The greatest feeling, to where I can go to my son and like cry on his shoulder and him comfort me. It's amazing. It's amazing. Or when I can text my daughter and be like, oh my gosh, and question things, and was this the best thing? And for her to be like, it's okay. It's you did the right thing, or I appreciate you so much. Right. That's the payoff. That's the ultimate payoff, and it's amazing.
Yay.
And you'll get there. You will get there.
And exactly. I'm so glad you said that, because yes, that's where I'm at. I'm like, oh God, I don't know.
Yes.
And even when just now, even when you gave me the compliment, they're like, I'm a great mom. I was like, dude, half the time I have no idea what I'm doing, but I do want them to be happy. So
what makes you a great mom?
Man,
the time you give them, the experiences you give them.
Yeah,
it's not about what you give them.
That's true.
It's about the experience, the time, being there for them.
That's true.
That's what makes a great mom.
Yes.
And you wanting to better yourself.
That's
and
true.
admitting when you're not always the best.
Right.
That's a never-ending job.
Woo, tell me about it. Exactly. That's a full-time job in and of itself.
Yes.
But being able to like constantly have that self-discovery. I agree. And I love that. But I am glad that you gave us that, that glimmer of hope on the other side, that it's there.
You guys.
It's good to know.
Because I still have 2 young
teens. That's it. Isn't that crazy? Yes.
So where I'm like, I can't wait till they get to that point.
Right. And interesting. Maybe you'll at least see, and appreciate more. That's true. Mm-hmm. See, and that's what's good to know, because that's the stage I fear. I'm like, okay, when they're teenagers, like, how is this going to be? And I have all girls. So like, this is going to be emotional.
They will
challenge
be a
ride. I'm sure they will. But I love that, to know that they still feel cared for. And that's what I felt like that's going to be the focus. And I feel like that's just what's going to help me get through it. I'm going to just try to keep that as my grounding thought. But then knowing too that they do come back, like you said.
Yes.
And that
and you always, and stand your ground.
Oh yeah.
You don't need to be their friend.
Right.
You hold them to high expectations.
Right.
They don't have to like it.
Hey.
It is what it is. You're doing the best you can. You keep your standards high. You keep your expectations high.
Absolutely.
And if they don't like it, that's okay.
Right.
They're not going to like everything.
No.
But they will feel cared for.
Absolutely.
Maybe not the way they want, but that's the way that you're caring for them.
Yeah. And in the way they need. I mean,
in the way that they need.
Yes.
And they'll get it.
Exactly.
They'll get it eventually.
Definitely. See, and then speaking of coming back, you also always come back to the field of education. Like you said, it's been some years, and you keep, you stay there. You still like want to be able to like continue to serve the children. Obviously, it's, for many different reasons, but I'm curious, what makes you keep coming back to this field, to this work, and to still have students at the forefront of it?
So it's just because I love them. I mean, I genuinely love them.
Right.
And I don't always love their behaviors, but I love them.
Right.
And little things, like I just got a friend request from Alfonso. Shout out to Alfonso. And it's so cool.
Right.
Or to see students like growing into adults and having kids and just to watch them grow, but to still come back and say, I remember when you did this.
Right.
Or I had a student who's like, I remember when you would just smile and say hello to me.
Right.
That's nothing.
Right.
But that got her through her day.
Exactly.
And I'm like, if that's all I need to do to help someone get through their day, wow.
Right.
And just, I still have kids who call me their school mom, or who I know they're like, you're the reason I come to school.
Right.
That's what gives me energy.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's, what a blessing for me to be able to do that for someone. That's a gift.
Yeah.
And it brings me joy, and it's challenging for sure.
Right.
But I love it. I genuinely love it, and I genuinely love my kids.
Right.
And that's what keeps me coming back.
See? Which is awesome. And it is that tremendous impact that you have, you know, and so like, and this the potential to even have that kind of impact, you know, just having a job where you can constantly do that, and really doesn't feel like work when you're able to do work in that way.
Well, sometimes it feels like work.
There you go. But we gotta remember
right.
now.
No, it's,
yeah, absolutely. But I do love the joy factor. That there's at least a joy factor in it. But yeah, we still getting
there's
paid.
always a joy factor.
Yeah.
No, I could have the hardest day possible.
Right.
To where I'm like, what was I thinking? But then I'll have a little hug, or a little I love you, or even the older ones.
Yep.
You know, that's it. There's always joy in the day.
Yes.
In every day.
And you definitely love what you do. So
Yes.
to also clarify, you gotta at least love it.
I do.
So that part's good too. And that at least helps with, you know, the driving force behind it to be able to help and continue to do it. But I agree. I do love that. And then also joy, speaking, it's the holidays, you know, so I am curious.
It's the season.
Hey. So do you have anything fun coming up holiday season? Or like what's your favorite holiday thing to do? Or like
Girl, let me tell you. Mama is busy. So we have multiple traditions. We have Cookie Day, which you've experienced
Yes,
a
I
couple
have.
cookie
Yes,
days.
I have.
So we start that. I have two sisters that I work with that I'm blessed to call them sisters. And I have another sister who is in another building, all in education. And we are truly sisters. And we have a tradition where we bring all of our children now together, and we have a cookie day. And it's gone from where we used to make cookies to now we just kind of hang out. And we start the season with that. The 23rd, I host Christmas, and I'm supposed to have 30 people over. And we do games, and I do, if you know Kahoots,
Oh yeah. Get out. Y'all play that at the
Kahoot. We turn that into a family game.
Look at that.
Do stuff like that. 24th, I still have the kids that are there. I still make them put out milk and cookies for Santa.
Yeah.
Still
That's
make
awesome.
them leave a letter for Santa.
There you
and
go.
We leave out food for the reindeer.
Yay.
Don't forget Rudolph. And then Christmas morning, we don't do anything until we read Santa's response.
Nice.
As he writes us back, each and every one of us. And
Awesome.
And then obviously we share in the joy that it's the birth of Jesus for those who celebrate that. And it's just a time of giving and love and being together.
Oh, I love that. I definitely do love that. And I think it's always fun to just create, like you said, these new traditions. You can change them. You can do what you want, but you are allowed to, you know, figure out how you want to be able to celebrate with your family and what ways you do want to create those, you know, factors of joy, those moments, but also
And
those
we
memories.
can't forget the elf on the shelf.
Oh God, the elf on the
Because
shelf.
we
y'all.
know
That's stressful.
That is a job.
Yes, it is.
That is a job.
Yes, it is. So welcoming the good old elf on the shelf
on the
has
shelf.
been, but my children are highly invested, y'all, on the elf on the shelf. So yeah, if the elf does not move, that is going to be, it's going to be a nightmare.
Wake up at 3 a.m. and you're like, I got to change the elf position. Or actually,
Exactly.
the elf magically changes.
Yes.
Also, if you have smart kids,
Right.
here's a
that
tidbit.
pick up, Lord.
Different wrapping paper from Santa. You need to have different wrapping paper and tags
Oh,
from
there you
Santa.
go. Look at that. See? I got away with a lot when they were younger that I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I
no,
could just
you
like
can't do that
explain
now.
away. I know.
Yeah.
But they are.
Now you got to be on your game.
Literally, our elf on the shelf took an Elfie, so selfie.
Yes.
And my daughter looked at the timestamp on the picture when it was taken. I was like, thank goodness that, wow, you're able to, that we didn't have any other evidence behind that
Gotta
because
stay ahead of the kids.
look at that.
Yeah,
Y'all, the
see.
kids is crafty. All right,
Yes.
kids are crafty and they will pick up. So I'm glad that you have all that. But also, after all of the wonderful Christmas festivities, if you celebrate, we also have a new year coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any goals on the list? Anything you want to do with the artist journey? Are there any new art projects or, what's
So
on the
for
agenda?
me, I always like to continue painting.
Yep.
That's just my own self-care process.
Right.
I am looking to do some painting sessions over the summer.
Hey, y'all heard it.
So yes, you heard it here first. I have a wedding
Yes.
2023. I actually have two weddings.
Oh, hey. Yep.
My son Joey and my sister Kia.
Look at that. Oh yeah. And I have one in California. So I'm excited. Wedding wise.
And I have a graduation. My daughter Juliana is graduating from high school.
Look at that.
And we'll be starting college. And I'm just excited. Every year brings new things. So I'm
Right.
just excited to see what the year brings.
Absolutely. I definitely think, though, with all of that being said, that I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that are going to want to know more about that and just how to, get in touch with you and just learn more about you. Because if y'all see, I'm pretty sure it's easy to tell why I've kept her in my life as long as I have. And so I'm sure there might be others that are going to want to connect with you also, be a part of the painting parties or whatever, it might be. Are there ways that folks can get in contact with you, connect with you, much like, shout out, what was it, Alfonso? That also just reached out. Yeah, shout out. Much like them, how can folks get connected to
So
you?
friend me on Facebook, Sally Hopkins.
Yes.
Or you can email me. Shall I share my email?
Sure. If you
Go
don't mind.
salamander at hotmail.com.
Oh, it's easy to remember that. There you go.
Go salamander. Yes. Message me on Facebook. I love everybody who message. I'm happy to when everybody reaches out.
Definitely. And when you go on Facebook, you should definitely see some of the paintings that have been there. I'm not saying I want to create too much of a flood of like commissions, your way.
Salamander Style is a Facebook page.
There you go. And so you'll be able to see. But I do think obviously I'm biased, but I definitely think that there's incredible work there.
Oh, thanks.
But you have done some incredible pieces. And I remember one that was skyrocketing in popularity. It was like an empowerment, essentially, painting. How was that?
So that was during COVID.
Look at that.
And I had extra time, so I just started painting. And I saw this painting, and I'm like, you know what? That inspired me.
Yep.
So I just did these paintings of women, but it was a blank face. And rather than adding any details, it was words, and it was just empowering words.
Right.
And it was my I Am Enough paintings.
There we go.
And they caught on
Right.
fire because it's important to know people need to be acknowledged that
Right.
you are you're enough, you're
Exactly.
worthy.
Yep. Always.
And so people, they, for their daughters, for their sisters, for their moms, they wanted these paintings to show that they really
Yep.
appreciated the woman in everybody.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it just skyrocketed in probably more than you even had
Right, and
anticipated.
people needed that and wanted that.
Just
that
that
was
push.
important.
Yes. And then
So-
to have it in that art form and then to have that depiction of it, you know what I mean? And to see that there, I agree. I think, and then that's the cool thing that those creative outlets can do. You know what I mean? It's incredible what, having that, for me, it's poetry. But for anyone, any outlet that you have, you deserve to have one and to explore that further, and to be able to use that, as part of your therapy, as part of your grounding.
And along with that, if you're doing art of any kind,
Yes.
don't measure yourself to anybody. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Do what feels good for you.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the process. That's where you get the most from it.
Right.
Because when you start comparing yourself to somebody or having these standards,
Right.
it's the process becomes,
yeah.
diluted.
Yep.
So to truly
And
gain
daunting.
from it, just do it. Be you, and
Right.
that's the best part. That's the best way to do it. Just genuinely be you.
Absolutely. I think your gauge of success should definitely be your own personal happiness.
Yes.
And yeah, agreed. We have so many ways to be able to compare now with social media and with all these things.
Don't do that.
But it's like, exactly. You got to do what's good for you.
You're the
always.
best you that is on the planet. So
Exactly.
just be you, because you're the only one that can be you.
Absolutely. And so with that, is there any last pieces of advice, even though you just ended with something so great, but anything else you'd like to share with everyone, those who may be listening, those who may be watching?
Yes, Melissa. Yes, I do. So I will end it with one of my corny jokes
Yes, for the corny joke.
that I always just pull off out of my hat.
Nice.
Are you ready for it?
I'm glad you have it on deck like
Because
that.
corny jokes make everybody cringe and yet happy at the same time. So, Melissa, what is Santa's favorite dance?
I don't know what Santa's favorite. I don't even have a guess. Santa's favorite dance.
Santa's favorite dance.
Let me think.
You guys have 5 seconds.
Is it something with like ho 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 down or something? Ho 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 down?
That's a great guess, but you are wrong.
And I did it though. I'm glad I got a guess in, so I don't even
The
care.
ho ho hokey pokey.
Oh no!
And that's
stop
what
it.
it's all about.
I'm so mad. I was close. I'm very glad that I was like even in the ballpark.
Close,
but
but
I never was I gonna
not
guess
quite
that.
Yes. But
So
love that guess.
if you want any more corny jokes, y'all, but also if
They're
you also
all
want
right here.
that's enough for days. Oh man, but also
Unfortunately.
just to learn from somebody so great to me. Thank you again just for being who you are, everything that you do. Shout out to all the wonderful educators, everything that you do every single day, taking care of our babies, because while we were at work, you take care of them during the day, and we know that that is no small job. And so shout out to all of them, but also shout out to all of you that are listening and are tuning in and always supporting. We thank you so much. And as always, we welcome your feedback, anything you have, but also tune in next Friday, because as always, every other Friday is Feel Good Friday. So we're going to always bring you another edition of Santana Says. And if there's any topics that you want to see in the future, ways you want to connect, or anything you want to see happen, let us know.
And shout out to you.
Oh, thanks.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Shout out to all you guys.
Thank y'all. Thank you.